comes to the truth. That's what power comes to. I don't want that kind of power, such as these other so-called metaphysical leaders are trying to gain. I don't want that kind of power. And I don't recruit no old people. None. None. You can be a help, and you got to know something. I don't recruit no. I got 4 or 5 old now. They give me their children. I don't recruit no. And anybody be a father and a wife, I don't care who they are, to be a father. Because a father is one that is civilized.
Peace. My name is Rashid Bilal, and here at the law school in Mecca, one of our cultural centers all over the planet, Harlem, New York. We're celebrating the nation history. This is about the nation history and whatnot. So we're all 5%ers all over New York City and the world. We're gathered right here at the law school in Mecca, celebrating the great history of our living mathematics. So listen and learn. Peace.
Peace.
Peace. My name is Black Prince of Law. I'm from a law born, and I reside in Xavier's Truth, which is Schenectady, New York. And I'm here on the Knowledge Wisdom Day to show and prove that my understanding is being one with the law. Because knowledge is the foundation of all things existence. Wisdom is what you speak and what you know being applied in one. Application of knowledge being applied as one. And understanding is the result of both of this combination of the knowledge and the wisdom. Then you get to understand. Peace.
Peace.
Peace. Positive numerical law. Law born. Currently residing in Narrow C, Galsboro, North Carolina, Greensboro. It's like what you want to know, God. I mean,
Today's mathematics.
Today's mathematics is knowledge, wisdom, all be born to understand. Knowledge is a manifestation of what you know. You know what I'm saying? That knowledge is applied when you put it in motion. That's that wisdom being manifest. You know, for me, understanding is living the culture out. That's the understanding when you begin to live it out. I said, tell us why did the devil teach us that? Because he desired to make slaves out of all that he can, so he could rob them and live in luxury. Now, if they had the knowledge to the wisdom, the devil wouldn't be able to allow it. They wouldn't allow the devil to teach them. The devil wouldn't be able to teach them that because they would know the truth. You feel what I'm saying? And they would be able to apply it and live out the laws of mathematics, which is that great understanding. That's what we're here to do. Show and prove the laws, understand that his truth is right. We're in tune with that. That's why we gathered here today on the 50th anniversary, which was a couple of days ago, but it's continuing on to this day. So, it's peace.
Peace, God.
Peace.
Peace.
This is the God's man, you know what I'm saying? This is the God from Piedmont. You know, I met the God many years ago. Great God, absolute. He's a righteous God, a family man. You know what I'm saying? A great God in the community, man, that people can come to for strength, for upliftment, and righteousness. Peace, God.
Peace. Absolute truth for law. Rest in Pelon. Brought my seed out. She's a little camera shy. She camera shy. I'm saying peace. Peace to the gods. That's it.
Peace. Get you anyway. Peace.
Well, the baby is the youngest. That's good. How old are you? How old? 14. Oh, that's close. Good. Wow. All right, peace. My name is Born Justice, Law Born Justice, for those that don't know. We are closing in on a 50th year anniversary. The objective was to have like a town hall cipher and Harriet Tubman, you know. But based on the way the tickets were selling, or the lack thereof, I couldn't see myself putting up $600 not knowing how many people were going to attend. So I was going to cancel the event. But you know how sometimes you throw things out there, it takes a life of its own. And I was getting called
about why we're not doing it, this, that, and the third. So I said, well, we just have it at the school. Hopefully the weather will be okay. And those that show up, show up. The objective is for the younger brothers and sisters to basically share their experience, how they got here, maybe some questions that they may have that can be answered by older gods and older earth, to where we can get a more clear, precise insight of what really this culture is all about. Because there's a lot of discrepancy about wearing crowns, sisters wearing jeans, not wearing 3/4. And we want to have something to reflect and say, well, no, this was said at this particular time by such and such person, and this particular question was asked and answered, and basically it made sense because it cleared things up for people. But even today, I still have questions. I've been in knowledge myself for 46 years. So there's nothing wrong with asking a question that you, as an individual, don't have the answer to. You're not sure. Sometimes you need clarity. And this is the reason why we go through our lessons with one another, not to bomb each other, but to sharpen the sword on one another. That's why we used to always walk in three. You got knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. Peace. You got knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. You got the black seed, you got the brown seed, and you got the understanding seed. And by you walking in three, one thing you're definitely going to do is to be able to have your back covered while somebody's doing the knowledge. You have your back covered while somebody's doing the wisdom. You have your back covered when you have somebody doing the understanding. And if you hold true to that philosophy in your growth and development process while you're in the knowledge and stuff, even in business. I mean, if you look at the Godfather, certain movie, you always see that there are people beside each other that a consultant or the consigliere, as they call them, you know what I'm saying, or a lawyer. You got somebody that advises the organization on what they should not be doing. It's the same thing in the nation. I mean, we all don't get it right the first time. Sometimes you got to get knocked down a couple of times in order to get back up. So the youngest person, I mean, like I said, I'm equality knowledge. I'm 61 years old. I'll probably be the last one to speak, and I'll give you my history. But you know how old you are, you should be able to speak. I know you told me you was wisdom culture, right, Don? So why don't you open up? Tell everybody who you are, where you from.
Hey, family.
Peace.
Peace. My name is Knowledge Maxwell from Delaware. I came to the knowledge myself understanding years ago, back in 2011. My educator is Divine Understanding Born Law of Virginia. And how I got my start was, it's funny because I got my start through the internet, which I know is, not liked upon, but yeah, how I got started was, through the music, and it was just something, with the lyrics that the rappers were talking about, and I couldn't find anybody in Delaware, so I reached out to Divine Understanding Born Law, and he was like, "Gosh, I got you," and he hooked me up with 120, something mathematics, alphabets, and all that, and I knowledge 120. Not long after that, and from there I just been building on and adding on to the cycle whenever I can, and that's pretty much how I got it.
Well, that's big. You have any questions? Anything you need answered? Any questions or concerns about that?
Not at this very moment.
All right. Now, this brother comes from where again?
Delaware.
Delaware, every Tuesday night to come to the black biology class that they have here on Tuesday. So you can see his concern of knowledge is real good. And that's a good thing to be wisdom culture years old. So the nation is geared up for young brothers such as yourself and younger. You know what I'm saying? Well, get them youngsters out there and do what you got to do. And if I can help in any kind of way, you know how to reach me. I don't know who else. He's wisdom culture. Who else is close to him or nearby?
Look at me. I'm understanding disciples. Anybody in between that?
I think it's you.
All right.
Family. Today's Supreme Mathematics, Knowledge, Wisdom, Marvin, and one understanding. Today's Supreme Alphabet, I love how the rights want to speak about my experiences, the understanding that I got, which is the love that I have for my nation and how I look for my help to come out right. I never believed in no mystery God, but at a young age, I was was scared or afraid to ask the question to the elder people around me. So I ended up committing crime, going inside the juvenile system due to the fact of lack of food in the house or whatever that my mom couldn't support for 3 individuals. So I went through the juvenile system from the age of 12 up until I recently just came home in December. But I first heard the knowledge of self by an individual named Majesty Allah, and when he stated that the black man was God, it kind of solidified all of my thoughts of there not being no mystery God. So what I personally did is went to him and was like, well, what I got to do, you know, to get down with y'all or whatever, because it was him and another brother. And they was like, well, you got to go on a fast. So I'm like, a fast? What you mean a fast? And he was like, well, you got to, you know, abstain from food. No candy, no anything. So I began my fast, and I got to the second day and I broke. I was like, man, I can't do it. He was like, nah, God, you can do it. You're just gonna start over. This time I'm gonna do it with you. So I redid the fast. And then I got my mathematics and my alphabets. Then we came to a time where we had to, they changed the juvenile detention center where I was at into an all-female, so we had to get transferred. So we ended up going to a maximum called Beaumont. And when we got there, he only had 2 weeks left, so he was like, God, I'm gonna give you this whole book of life, which we usually don't do. But what I'm gonna tell you is to memorize every degree, don't skip through no pages or anything, and teach it the way that you get it. So I learned 120, 2.5 months, I had it on cap. But I was around nobody to give me the guidance and the understanding of what I really was dealing with. You know, I was like, okay, I'm the black man's God, I got the information that can prove it, but outside of that, what's next? So I was giving the knowledge to individuals, and they was coming to me with the questions because they felt like I was the best knower. But I couldn't really provide them with the best part, the understanding. So I used to tell them, just keep studying your lessons. The answers in there, my life told me. So I still had a wicked thought in my head, a brown germ. You know, 200 years away from the black. And that was to go back home and deal in destruction. So in 2003, I came home, and we teach that we write our history in advance. It was already wrote. So in 2005, I was incarcerated in the federal system that gave me knowledge power miles originally. Mathematically, to me, in my history, that's what it was just for me. It was time for me to acknowledge my power. Because even if I had an understanding of not, when you get to that knowledge born degree, you're held responsible. Any of those degrees from the knowledge equality all the way down to that wisdom cycle, you're held responsible for what you do. So I got re-educated by a brother named Intelligent Allah that was from Raleigh now C. And the brothers, you know, basically what I did when I first got there, I made knowledge born. And the brother asked me a simple question. I know most likely every God that went through this. What makes you God? And I was saying that like, yo, my lessons make me God. God looked upside my head and was like, what? Your lessons make you God? Nothing on paper make me God. What you mean your lessons make you God? So I'm sitting there and the AC on, because we was in the chapel at that time because they went to a Nation of Islam service. So I'm sweating. So the God wives were like, listen, God, let them lose, let them go, let them go. Only thing we got to do is re-educate. So I was like, well, you know what? I got my set of lessons over there, but what I'm willing to do to come out right, I'm willing to give up my book of life and be taught right. So the older brothers looked at it, was like, damn, that's sincere right there. And you had a few brothers like, nah, I'll never give up your book of life. I said, first of all, God, y'all ain't taking nothing from it. Don't look at it like you're taking something from it. I'm giving it up to show my love for this, to come out right. I put myself through my hell. I put myself through this hell in incarceration. I'm going to put myself through this hell of righteousness to come out right. So the brothers respected that. Went through the degrees, and the brothers walked and talked with me every day. I spent 2 years in Bennettsville, South Carolina. I went to Otisville, New York, where I met gods from abroad. You know, from every state possible in the Fed, you're going to meet a God. So I sat down, I humbled myself. I reached out to the gods in the exterior, Sia Quill, Born King, and anybody that I could get my hands on to get this knowledge right and exact. There was brothers in there who was taught, who could trace their lineage all the way back to firstborns and to the Father. That's basically my story up until now. What I'm doing, I got an ICS, which is an interior correspondence service that I do for the brothers in the interior cycle to reach back to make sure if they want to get involved with the legal aspect. I send them, with the help of Minister Divine, who's in Sullivan State, the copy of the last Warren case that we know in the state penal system, which was in Now Why, which opened the doors for our culture to be lived through. So what I do is aid and assist and send that to the brothers, just one way to aid and assist my nation, because I ain't forget about my brothers behind there. But out here, I'm striving to come to every event that's possible. I stay out New Life with my Earth, Queen Reflection Beautiful. And I'm here to stay.
That's pretty
You know, I ain't going nowhere. You know, and I love my nation.
Love you too, dog.
Peace. Peace.
All right, he's understanding cipher. I mean, the Earths can speak too. They gotta get your age up or nothing. Can't answer Earth their age, but if any of the sisters have any questions or want to tell their story, you're free to do that.
Please, I mean, you before me, but he said you don't have to give you. Okay. So I'm before y'all in that instance. Peace, I'm Queen Reflection, Beautiful Earth. I had the knowledge of myself for equality miles since I met my God, myself by just born law. And I strive to do everything that I can for the nation, whether it be nation building or contributing where I can in events that needed to be added on to. Because most important to me is the babies. And I guess the main question that I have, or what I would like to see more at the parliaments that I do go to, is Earth's built. You know, not only amongst ourselves, but building in front of the like it just, to me, I never got up to build in front of the auditorium because it just seems like that's the area where the jobs are supposed to be. So what I would like to see, or what I would like to know is that floor open for the Earth to build also? Because whenever I do see an Earth go up, she's saying, oh, we got this going on for the children, or we got this for sale, or we have this. So what I want to know is the floor open for us also? Because if it's our nation, we should be able to feel welcome up there.
Well, question.
Okay. The answer to that is the floor is always open to Earths to build. You know, they striving to get a format to whereas sign-in lists, you know, people can sign up, this, that, and the third. We also have every third Saturday, we used to have meetings here to determine the topics of people that's gonna be speaking at the parliament, what they may be talking about, just so we can bring it across to the nation. But those meetings have changed and developed into a whole different cipher. But if you come to a parliament and you wanna speak, you can do like everybody else, just come to the front. There's somebody there, what can I say, hosting, could be Divine, Tall Divine? Divine Prince. He'll be the one sometimes doing it, or whoever's up in that front, you say, God, I'd like to speak, you know. The reason why a lot of times you don't see sisters speaking, because there's a time that most of the time when sisters got up there, they got up there God bashing, because the God that they was dealing with, whatever the case may be, he didn't do right by her. And so when they had a chance to speak, they got up there and scorned, and they was like, you shouldn't bring your personal business to the parliament. But if you got a domestic violence situation, you know what I'm saying, you have to bring it to somebody's attention so that it can be rectified. I'm not gonna say put a person on blast at the parliament, but you can put them on the side and it can be addressed the way it's supposed to be addressed. Go ahead.
Peace, God. Okay. The Universal Parliament is a place where great gods and great queens come and they manifest their science, their progress in their family, their self-progress, and things of that nature. It is always a blessing for God and Queen to get up there and to build up there. This is your home. The Universal Parliament is our chance to demonstrate our supreme equality to the whole planet. Our families are welcome, and everybody from the community is welcome to come to the Universal Parliament. So don't be shy. Manifest your science at once. Peace.
Peace, God. Peace, God. So, you want to step up to the parliament and speak anytime. Next, sir.
Okay, I'll go next. Peace.
Peace.
My name is Serenity Divine, and I've had Knowledge Self since 1999. December of 99, actually. I knowledge from 20 and I built with Born Justice to be on my flag. I do security in the parliament. I've been in the nation for a while. I've been doing a lot of things, several boards and trying to help out when I have attitude. Which is what I've been working on for the past few years, working on my attitude and trying trying to place my energy. But anything that is needed for me to do, I will do it. Anyone who's not scared to ask me to do something. And I'm just, in this late of my race, I'm just looking for something to be involved in where it's not a lot of chaos and hating and backstabbing and all that. So anything that I can have.
All right, peace. I'm Star Asia. I'm assistant out of Freedom of Age, so I am understanding power. I got knowledge of self and I was out quality out in the desert. Kings Park was actually that first Sunday rally. It was actually the first rally I went to in Nation Podcast. Actually came about the science of mathematics in a very casual experience. I won't go into the details, but I was with some friends and we were building basically just to try to get something, and they started talking about their money in the frame of mathematics. And I was like, what are y'all talking about? What is that? So I started cracking jokes, and then once it was explained to me, that's what sparked the fire. So I learned mathematics and alphabets real quick. I didn't have anyone to give me the lessons of 120, so I started going to the rallies, and that's when I met Shabira. Who was and I was such a good and I started building it now. That's how I got 120. So again, in the desert, I got knowledge of self. I'm currently in Miami right now, and so I basically just came up to visit to be a part of the 50th anniversary.
Alright, I'm Aisha Juster. I'm new to this. I've been here for a few months now. I got my knowledge from them. We actually met in Myrtle Beach, and I was looking for something, something different for my children's lives. I was looking for something better for my life and for my children's life, and I found mathematics. And I found Born Justice. And I found my match. And I don't have a long story, but I love mathematics and I love my family.
Hey, we love you.
Love you, sis. You know that. Okay. Who's next? We can just go around now. Anybody else have anything to add?
Gotta be somebody else here younger than me.
Stop saying. I'm from Cypher.
You younger than me.
I'm younger than probably a lot of you. My name's Shalom Black Messiah.
Peace.
Came to the knowledge when I was about knowledge, like 5 years old. I got knowledge from a Latino brother. he had got it from someone else, and I thought to him, and I said to him, like, you don't want this, you don't need this. So I took it from him and started studying, and I didn't know what I was talking about or nothing like that, but it was a part of me. It was who I was, so I just kept it. And I came across a brother in Law's Paradise called Born Supreme. His name now is Shabazz Born, probably most of you may have heard of him. He caught me at a time when I thought I knew something. And one of the brothers that came to me and questioned me, what's today's math? And I was like, today's math, knowledge, being from the wisdom, giving him all of that. And he was just, the God at the time made him reality. He was a headhunter, so he was just like, God, that ain't good enough. Over there, here's something else, whatever. That's not good enough, that's what I got. And from that point, the God Born Supreme, he's like, hell, he's not ready, come on. He took me off, and continued to give me, further my education. And, I kept it because of 2 reasons. First of all, it is me, you know what I'm saying? Second of all, I always knew. It wasn't something that was I don't know how many other people have come across, and it was something fresh and new to them. It wasn't new to me. It was just something that it was a natural thing to, you know what I'm saying? Because I was always God. as a kid, I was like, I don't want to hear that, none of that kind of stuff. And, you know, it was, like I said, it was just a natural progression. I just didn't know who I was exactly. I couldn't put a name on it or put a face on it, but I knew who I was. You know what I'm saying? And that in and of itself is also a reason why my name is Black Messiah as well. Because it was Black Messiah's root and outlet. You know what I'm saying? I say that my father was a black son. I got the knowledge from the black son. Yeah. And I couldn't stand it. I hated being light skinned. And most of a lot of people don't say that. But I hated being light skinned. So, you know, it was always, I hated the critical and all that. And that's where Black Messiah really came from. In that aspect, because I was like, I'm like Black Messiah. And the people just call me Messiah, like, you know, Black Messiah. You know what I'm saying? Make sure you get that right. Because, you know, I got the knowledge from the black seed. I felt like the black seed. So that's how I built this character. And that is my character. You know what I'm saying? I sit back and be quiet a lot. You won't put nothing past you. You might think it's all good. You know what I'm saying? Because he's just sitting there where I don't pay attention. You know what I'm saying? Because I've gotten it from the knowledge. So I'm going to return it back to the knowledge to keep it exactly the same. But I won't give you that understanding because that's what I'm supposed to do.
That's a whole lot.
Peace.
Peace.
And these are my two babies that I just had recently. She's understanding, and this one is going on wisdom. And you know, after my incarceration, a long and lengthy time of being put away, my beautiful little moons came. So you know, it's another reason to continue to build and continue to strive. Her name is Queen Shakaya Asada Earth, and her name is Queen Nzinga Essence Earth.
Okay, next.
Peace.
Peace.
Queen Natural Essence Earth. Came into the knowledge of myself. It's been built to destroy years now. And, you know, I would say that at the age of knowledge, wisdom, that's when I also denounced religion. I literally remember walking out of a church, storming out of a church, and just being done with it. Didn't know where to go for many years. Got turned on to a lot of different knowledge from a lot of different avenues, I would say. And I grew up in Medina, and it wasn't until when at Knowledge Wisdom, I was specifically introduced to Kemetic sciences. And at that point in time, I was upset that it hadn't been exposed to me in school. I had been in school for so many years, months, and days, and you just know that something is missing in those lessons that you get on a daily basis. So when I learned about our legacy and our greatness as a people, it angered me, you know, and my fire continued to be lit through various sciences. However, it wasn't until 2006 when I spoke with the God, and I remember saying to him, there's a science for everything, and for everything there's a science. And where that would come from, you know, having had a religious background lets me know that that's something that was always in me as well. So I continue to study from there and, you know, add on where I can. I can't come to Now Why as often as I would like to because of these tolls, but I know that's also a tactic used by the devil to keep us apart. So I connect where I can, when I can, and strive to build in my community because that's where I can, because that's where I know how. So, of course, we add on with our family, and that's how I came to the knowledge of myself. Peace.
All right, what's next? Anybody can jump in now. We passed the age bracket.
Nah, he younger than me.
Coach Power.
Yeah, you younger than me.
It's on me, peace. My name is Absolute Truth of Law. I reside in Pelon, or the Bronx. I came into the knowledge of myself in Billbourne. I got knowledge from a brother named Foundation Sham God Allah, who was taught by Lord Dumar. And basically, I was raised as a Jehovah's Witness, so there's a lot of emphasis on reading the Bible and stuff like that. Throughout that whole process growing up, a lot of questions I would have. I remember one question I asked my old earth was, one time I told her, I said, look, I had a dream. God spoke to me in a dream. And she told me, no, God don't do that no more. So I'm like, why? Like, how can you tell me? That's my dream. Like, how can you? She's like, no, God, the time of prophets is over. God doesn't do that anymore. And that's just one example of how I always looked at those Bible stories and stuff like that and became very inquisitive and started to research and stuff like that. I cannot sit here and tell you how I knew that the God Foundation was a part of this. I can't sit back and recall, like, how did I know that he was a part of this? But at some point, I sought him out in my community and went to him. And when I went to him, I had a book all about, and in it I wrote, like, about the number 7, how the number 7 was dominant and all that kind of stuff. I started building with the brother. We started studying from that point. At that time, I had, the name that I chose was Ishbal Matik Allah. And through my growth and development, I started to think, you know, when I heard that science, the father said, let's get away from Muslim names. I sat down and I tried to draw up a name for myself. And through all types of scenarios. One time my name was going to be Prime. Don't ask me why. I don't know, but that was going to be one name. And I settled on Absolute. So what I strive to be is complete within myself. And how I've been able to get to this level of completion is through this knowledge. I remember early on, I had the privilege of working with Born Justice and Security, and that really helped as far as giving me structure and things of that nature. I love this nation.
Love you too, God.
Man, I can tell, I've been, like all of God know, you know, everybody in this room know that we all go through different trials and tribulations in this society. And, you know, I sit down and I think about how America or the society sometimes strives to destroy us as a people, as a black man. And all of the different trials and tribulations I've been through, I've been able to get through it with knowledge of self, with my lessons and my degrees. I've been broken. My knees have buckled. I've never buckled down and bumped my head on the ground or said, oh, why, God, have you forsaken me? None of that. I've always been able to look within and find the strength to move forward. My earth even said that to me. Oh, you all right? You dealing with this? You okay? I'm going to be God, regardless of who or what. And it's beautiful to be here amongst all the brothers and sisters, especially the babies, and see my family. And I love you all, and I'm looking forward to the next 50 years, 500 years, you know? Peace.
Peace. Positive Ramel Law.
Peace.
Originally from the Law Born, currently reside in Goldsboro, now see. I came into the knowledge of self at the degree of knowledge, wisdom, really. The way it happened, you know, brother named Latik, he had mathematics, so I took him. That's why I started laughing when the God was telling his story, because it's like mine. So the brother had some mathematics, I took his mathematics, and there was another brother that was in the 6th grade with me named Sincere. And he did the same thing to his cousin Karan. He took his mathematics, so me and Sincere would be sitting in the back of the classroom in school, quoting mathematics, don't know what we saying, but we can go from knowledge to add cipher. You feel what I'm saying? So that was that. But then at the degree of knowledge understanding, me and my physical Al-Azim was hanging out one night on Clinton Ave. It's a little hole in the wall across the street, so we can't go in there. You know, we're young, but we're going to stand out and watch everything that's going in, and, you know. So a brother walked up the street and asked us, do we want to be 5 or 6? So I'm looking at him like, this must be a joke or something, you know. And I'm looking at my cousin like, this dude must be playing. But he told us to meet him at the center the next day, which would have been on a Sunday. So we go to the center, we sat up there all day long waiting for the brother. The brother never come. So I'm like, man, what, you know, so I'm a little heated. But the good thing was, it was a brother named Black Justice that was teaching, who got it from Shaheem, and Shaheem got it right exact from Colleen. So it's a direct link right back to him. So that's who we started learning from. And Black Justice told all the young girls around the way, you know, y'all teach each other. So our meeting ground would go to the library, and we would go to the library every day and just build. You know, we had to go through that 3-day fast, and that right there alone was a journey towards living right and exact. And once I went through that 3-day fast, it was like ain't no turning back. Now I went 3 days without eating no food. I can't turn back now. That was accomplished by itself. That was the seal. That right there sealed the deal, you know. And then when I took on that name, Positive Ramel, that right there bonded me to this culture, you know. And this was back in Build Wisdom. So for the last understanding years, I had knowledge of self, you know. And I love this nation, you know. And I mean, me and the guards out in Goldsboro, you know, I had the chance to meet Now Law. When I first got out there in Charlotte, I went to Charlotte, Queen City, and Now Law asked me who I was, because I was living with this sister. He asked me who I was, and I told him. First thing Now Law do, get on the phone, call Law Born, ask to speaking to A-Do, and A-Do, it's like, I'm going to verify and see if you who you say you are, you know, because if you ain't who you say you are, then you need to keep moving, you know, and that's what we need to do, start examining brothers and sisters more, you know, even if it is a phone call, because believe it or not, wherever you from, just like when you said Shabazz Born, yeah, Shabazz Born is out in Goldsboro with me. So, yeah, so it's like, if I go back and say, Shabazz, you know the God? He should be able to say, yeah, I know that God, man, you know, and that's all it's about, God, you know. For me, man, it's really living this culture, you know. When I learned 120, you know, I got the knowledge and wisdom, and today, the understanding for me is living this culture out, you know. Once you begin to live it, that's when to me, I feel like I begin to grasp it, you know, and that's what the law was teaching, man, you know, about education and doing the right things, you know. And I mean, I went through hell, you know, went through a lot of trials and tribulations, but I ended up coming out right. So that right there, what means more to me, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, I love this culture. I'm gonna be here for another 50 years willfully, you know. It's definitely beautiful to see and meet everybody here. Peace.
Peace. The Shabazz Born you're speaking about is the one that's at the Compton.
Yeah, by himself.
That's my security.
He was security.
Yeah, he's still security.
But he snatched me up because, you know, I was a little more wild than he was. I'm not gonna say wild, I was just a little more bold. I didn't care about, you know, consequences. He was more concerned about the consequences. He was more studious. So we got that now, bro. Stick together. God is very stupid. Yeah, just like people when you were younger.
Come on in here, Lord Hot Chef. Got your story to tell. Read your file.
A lot of people that know him when we were younger, you know, go crazy about the fact that he's a comedian now. Like, you never was, and that was me and him. We used to be the stern-faced brothers. You come around, you would never see this one. And now he's doing comedy, and he said that to me the other day. He's like, he said, God, you know, if people knew what I was doing now, you know, there's a lot of people in the company, it's like, why are you doing comedy? Like, I thought you were the last person to do comedy. Like, maybe me, because I was a weed head, you know, so let's say, obviously the locks ain't nothing. Not for no reason.
Peace.
Peace. All right.
Peace. I be the God Lord Shalal Law from Medina. Peace. I got knowledge of self and Bill Cipher, and the way I got knowledge of self was a little strange. Like, my mother taught me how to read when I was very young because she was a proofreader for a book company called Harcourt and Breaks, and they make all the school books, all them hard school books that we used to get from the post. She was a proofreader for that, so I had to learn how to read when I was very young. So, and you know, she had a little Black Panther type of background from like the 60s, so the types of books that was in my rest that I would read, you know, was like, quote unquote, pro-black, like before the Mayflower, things like that. And I was real interested in science. And right outside my rest in Flatbush, right outside my window, the guards always used to meet up right there. So I played piano. So I would have to sit there and play my scales or whatever. And I would be listening to these dudes outside. And I used to be right in the window listening, so they didn't even know I was there. And I was like, these dudes are neighbors. What are they talking about? So one day I heard the guards building on what make rain, hailstorm, earthquakes. And I got a thing for science. So the next morning, they like continued their build, and I had to come out for school. My door was right there. We had a side door, so I came out. And I was like, I know that. And they was like, you know, what you talking about, little man? I said, I know all about that. So they was like, well, what you know about that? And I was like, well, you know, I know this kind of cloud does this kind of cloud does that. So I started hanging around them a lot. The way I got knowledge of stuff was from being a little fly on the wall. I was a dirty little kid that ran everywhere. I lived in Flatbush, but I would be in Nubia in the staircase on the 3rd floor listening to guards building the 2nd floor like this. And then I would run someplace else, and I'd be telling the other little brothers. But I'd never tell nobody that I knew nothing. Like I didn't mess with like Dr. Janelle and all of them. I used to see them, and I'd come around, I'd listen, never open my mouth and say I was God. One day the God blessed Monique. I don't know if some of y'all remember him. And he had that show, the Blessed Radio Show. You remember him, right, Born Justin? I was at Empire Road skating ring, and I'm standing around, and the brothers was asking his brother a lesson, and he didn't know it. So he was like, that little dude right there know that lesson, why you don't know it? And he was like, he don't know nothing. So they asked me, I knew it. And he was like, yo, who's teaching you? And I said, all y'all. When I was a young guard, I used to have guards take me home because they would turn around 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm 12, 13 years old. They turn, what are you still doing here? I was like, I'm the guard. They were like, yeah, you're going to be the guard on the train. Let's go. I used to walk up here because I used to hear different bills in the street. And I used to be like, man, I can't even argue with these dudes, but I know where I can go and find out. So I would walk from Medina up here and ask the guards questions. And I was always a little troublemaker. I always got in trouble at the parliament because I always was saying stuff that I ain't really know or I thought I knew. Now, you know, I've been around for a long time. You know what I'm saying? Old guards be like, yo, God, you don't know what you're talking about, young guard. I was like, listen, I don't even want to hear all that. I'm the God. So I don't care what y'all say. You know what I'm saying? I know my lessons. You can ask me any degree, I know them. After that, everything y'all say, he's like, okay, come around the corner to the school. You know, like I said, I learned from everybody. Like my tree is kind of funny. I learned from Saheem, I learned things from Sincere. I learned the manifestation of the universal flag from Shamgar on a Dalphine decal. You know, I remember, I forgot exactly what it was. I did something totally out of order. Dumar made me write out my understanding to the build a story degree in 140, and it made me go up in front of the parliament and build them. You know, and that's how I learned. You know, and I met the guard here in some crazy ciphers. You know, dealing with the penal. And you know, I just want to say one thing. One of the most important things that we need to instill now, especially with the advent of this internet thing, that cloud, that internet, that's that cloud of deception.
Yes, it is.
Brothers need to start really, really teaching supreme mathematics and supreme alphabet. It is so imperative that these young brothers can practically apply that. That's our way of life. That's our language. They're not learning it like how a lot of us, like how we learn supreme mathematics. We need to bring it back to the original. We gotta bring it back to the root. I've always told brothers through my travels, through, you know, being in the penitentiary or whatever, I was like, listen, you need to make a pilgrimage, so to say. The same way the Muslims go back to Mecca, y'all need to go back to Mecca and go to the school so that y'all could get this knowledge right. Peace. I love y'all.
Hey, love you too. Well, now you making me feel like I'm the older one now.
You are.
I remember that. Peace, family. My name is the Lord Universal Happiness.
Peace.
And with me, I'm originally, when I first heard of this nation, that was in the 70s. And that was from my uncle Divine, who was originally from Pelon. He passed away and everything. And, I was like, all right, you told me, you don't call me by my slave name, you call me my righteous name is Divine. And I was young, 5 years old. I said, all right, Pete, Divine, Uncle Divine, and everything. But yet, I was still going to a Catholic school in Pelon, right there on St. Anne's Avenue, and everything. And it was a Muslim sister who really gave me a first spark on some knowledge, to be honest. Because I used to go to the Catholic school, go to the Catholic church, and I used to pray in front of the statue and everything. And she told me, she said, well, you look in the Bible, it tells you, in the Ten Commandments that thou shalt not worship idols. And I said, yeah, I heard that. She said, well, statue, images, pictures, all of those are idols. And I told my mother, straightforward, I said, Mom, I'm not going to the Catholic church anymore. I said, you can force me to go, but that don't, remember, it's right across the street from where I live at. I could go someplace else. And she said, all right, you don't want to go to the church, you don't have to. And everything. And I stopped going to the Catholic church. And my old herb, she passed away when I was born years old, and that's when I moved to Medina, the head of Medina, Fort Greene. And there, first time I ever actually hear Brother Bill was the God Powerful Law in the head of Medina. And I lived right there in 9 Monument Walk. And he lived right in the building next to mine, 25 Monument Walk. And we was going together and everything, me and some young brothers. And he was sitting on the stoop because my old aunt, my grand aunt, used to rest in his building on the 3rd floor, named my Aunt Marie. And he snatched us up. And he said, have you ever been aware about God? I said, isn't that guy that's supposed to be floating in the air somewhere? And he said, well, to be honest with you, he's you. And I was doing a lot of black history study when I was young. And when he was telling me that he was the black man, he was God. And I remember a history where they said that really the first man, so far in all the history that they know that existed, was the black man. And I began to really look at it, and how they would hide history. And I was reading, black history comic books back then. And they never told me in school that it was Benjamin Banneker who designed, the Washington Monument, or the Washington, D.C. They didn't teach me that in school. And I was like, well, if this is the case, why are they not teaching us this in school? And I asked one of my cousins, and he said, because they don't want you to go to this. So when Powerful snatched me up a second time, and said that, gave me an understanding of religion. And, that God is not unseen. How could a man be man who's unseen, make a man in his image who is seen? And I really looked at that real deep. And that's when I got knowledge of something. I got knowledge from the God named Divine Everlasting, and he went back to the essence. And I also got knowledge from the God, Son God of Law, that rests out in the head of Medina. And the God knowledge born of God, who also rests out in the head of Medina. He went back, he went back to the mind and everything. And I always kept building from there. I went to Boys and Girls High School, and I just kept building. And at that time, that's when my name was Universal Everlasting. And as I kept building and everything, I began to really look deeper and dig more deeper into learning of myself. Because it was a time when big brothers used to come up and ask me questions about me. And really, I couldn't give an answer. I knew the history of everything else, but didn't know my own history. And
that's when I began to really study me and everything. I was very active, and my old aunt in the head of Medina didn't want me to get this knowledge. So I ran away. She wanted me to continue going to the church. I told her I'm not going to the church. She would take my lessons and throw my lessons away and everything. And I said, well, if she's going to do this, and I looked at my age, I was knowledge God, 17. I ran away. Came out and ran away to here in Mecca. And I lived on the east side, by the project. And they didn't have no knowledge there. A lot of brothers who I knew when I was living before my old age, they didn't have knowledge. So I started building out there and everything. They know me out there by the name of Everlasting. And I just continued building. Then eventually I went through my hell. You know, God. And a lot of brothers feel that that's today's degree in our alphabets. It's L, love, hell, or right. And sometimes you have to go through hell to learn what's right. Sometimes you have to face the hard times and tribulations, you know, to know what is right that can be easier applied instead of making things complicated. Because that's what I was doing a lot of times, was making things complicated for myself. And I realized that. I got knowledge in 82, by the way. You know, and I just love building. I moved from out of the city, I moved up to Hudson Valley and everything. I also dealt with recovery because a lot of people feel ashamed with admitting that I had a drinking problem, which I did. Because there's a lot of hard times that I went through, and I thought that for me to cope with, that's what I went through. But as I said, at times you got to go through hell to come out right. You know what's right. And it was, at first I felt ashamed and everything, but I'll be honest. I love this nation because these are my big brothers who set me on the right path. And let me know that you got to remember something. Just as that first degree tells you why the Islam renews history, is you Allah you happiness, you got to renew your history. And that's what I did. You know, I haven't drank in 10 years because one, I realized it's not for me. I'd rather leave it alone. And I moved up to Hudson Valley, out first in Poughkeepsie, which is Power Kingdom. And I met the guards up there, Lord Just, Master Unlimited, all the guards up there. And when they moved, I began to look and see how things was going, how the youth was going crazy. So I started opening up the class up there, the civilization class up there, and the Family Partnership Center. And then I moved to Wise Fargo, which is Wappington Falls. And I'm building out there. And I'm by the light, beacon, and everything. I'm starting to get things going out there. I'm also building in Naumbourne, which is Newburgh. And everything, starting with Children's Day, Family Day. And I'm working on striving hard to get a building so we can start teaching out there more. You know, it's not just a me thing, it's a we thing. And I realized this. If it wasn't for my big brothers, I don't call them elders and none of that. Y'all my big brothers. Y'all been here for me. It was y'all, the things that y'all did and the steps that y'all took that gave me the capability to take the step that I have to take today. So that love, hella right is happiness for me. This is why now my name is Allah Universal Happiness. Because see, God, I got the best part. And this is for y'all. It's for y'all, my big brothers and sisters here. If nobody told y'all they love y'all today, I love y'all. Y'all know, because if I'm not smiling, there's a problem, so y'all better step back. And I say to my family, peace, Allah, and I love y'all.
Peace. Next up. Young brother.
Me? That's you, young brother.
That's you, y'all. No escape.
My name is Lord Hashem, Master God Allah.
Peace, Lord Hashem.
I rest and reside in the land we call Sudan. That's Dallas, Texas. I got knowledge of self. If you building on having knowledge of self, David mathematics and knowledge of wisdom, all that we want to understand. I'm here to get a clear picture, give a clear picture on how I got the knowledge of myself. So it's all I want to understand. I got the knowledge of myself back in Born Knowledge, which is 91. Before I got knowledge of self, I was a Pentecostal in the church. You know, all that speaking in tongues and all.
Now we know.
I preached in the church in Dallas, Texas. I also was in a rap group. You can Google me. The name of the rap group is PID, Preachers in Disguise. You can Google it. We traveled all across the world. We had a very big fan base in Europe, and we did a lot of traveling in the Christian circuit. During the whole time, I've always been a studier. I've always been wanted to know the truth about things. Even though I was in the church, I still wanted to know the truth. No matter what I would look for, I would always find myself. So I go looking for the truth in everything. And I heard about these brothers called the 5%ers. I'm a preacher now in the Bible Belt. So during that time, I wanted to know everything. So I started studying these brothers, these 5%ers, and these Muslims who say that they God. You know, I said, man, there's a difference there though. The Muslims, they following somebody, but these brothers say that they are the true and living God. And I wanted to know. I said, you know, and I never ran across a God. I never ran across anybody, especially being down there. So by me being in a rap group, we used to love listening to groups like Public Enemy because we wanted our music to be edgy, even though we were in the church and we were rapping street type rap. So we went to a Public Enemy concert one year, and I ran across a brother. He had a crown on just like the God, and it had a tassel on it. I ran up to him. I said, "You one of them 5%ers, ain't you?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "Y'all brothers say y'all God, right?" He looked at me, he said, "You God too, you just don't know it." And he walked off. And when he walked off, I grabbed him. I said, "Hold up, G." I said, "You ain't getting away from me that easy." So he said, "I tell you what, I'll give you my pager number." He had beepers back then. He said, just beat me, call me. I live in Irving. I said, "Whoa, I live in Irving too." We call Irving I God Rule. I said, "Man, well, I'm going to call you as soon as I get home tomorrow." I called him the next day, he didn't answer me back. This so happened, I happened to be at a birthday party for my daughter at that time. And, you know, I got the page from him, and he told me that his one of the brothers, one of the guards had got into a serious car accident. And he just wanted to let me know he had forgot about me, and he wanted to build with me. He said, "I got some lessons for you." And I told him, I said, "You know what, I'm praying for your brother." He laughed. He said, "Thank you, bro. He's going to be all right." The brother by the name of Rashid, he was in critical condition, also with another one of my brothers by the name of Infinite Kejan. And they had into a very, very bad accident. The brother Rashid had lost his total memory. And the only way that he came back to get all of his memory was through Supreme Mathematics. He didn't even know his name. But they ran the math, he ran the math from Supreme Mathematics. He regained his right mind through Supreme Mathematics. When I heard that, I was like, it's something to this. You know, I started listening to different music that the God had, you know, had me listening to, and I went over to their apartment, and that's where I first met my firstborn brother, Trueborn Shati. They 13 and 14 years old, sitting in the corner reading lessons. I'm 23 years old, and I'm preaching, and I'm like, what has got these young brothers so captivated? And they over in the corner reading their lessons. I'm like, man, what is this about? So God told me they builders. Those are young builders. This is what we do. We teach the youth. So I began to talk to these young brothers, and I had never talked to teenagers like this that knew the knowledge of themselves and the science of everything in life. So I sit down. I'm older than all of them. I'm older than my educator. And I sit down and I listen to them. I say, man, I got to hear this. What y'all talking about? And I was still saying that there was a mystery God. And I told my educator that night, the night I came over to visit, I said, you know what? I said, before I leave here, I'm going to prove to you that you are not God. And he said, before you leave here, you're going to find out what the real Holy Ghost is. We stayed up, you know, in the Bible where it talks about Jacob wrestling with the angel all night. That's what happened to me. Every time I would come with a Bible verse, he would come with a fact. He would hit me with a fact. Every time. Now, during that time, when I got the knowledge of myself, I would just sit and I would daydream and I would think about these things that he told me. Before I left that house, that apartment that morning, 6 o'clock, I got over his house at 9 o'clock the previous night. I left at 6 o'clock that morning. I was saying that the black man was God. Because he had showed and proved to me, without a shadow of a doubt, that there is no mystery God, and the only true and living God is the Son of Man. From then on, I didn't turn back. Now you have to understand, I'm in a very lucrative Christian rap group. We get interviewed. We got videos out. We're world renowned. So when I made the announcement that I was leaving the group, every Christian magazine contacted me from everywhere. If you Google PID, you'll see the interviews when they said one of the brothers left and went to Islam, and that disbanded the group. I didn't want to disband the group, but what else could I do? I couldn't conceal anything. You know, and I started getting heavier and heavier into the knowledge itself. That's when I first saw Born Justice on the Brand New video. I said, man, that's when I said, this is for me. During that time, I went to the Million Man March and I met the God personally. And from then on, we've always had a great relationship. I said that to say what my brother-in-law you had to say. If it wasn't for my big brothers like Najee, when we first started coming up to the school, they were the ones that we leaned on. Because we didn't know. But we knew when we came and built with y'all that y'all was going to have our backs regardless of who and what. So during that time, you know, I came back to Dallas, you know what I'm saying, and we had met 9 brothers that wanted to start a law school in Texas, in Dallas. So all of us said, well, we know to start their law school, what we need to do, we need to all knowledge 120. So we would stay up endless days and nights just studying. He said, what we're going to do, we're going up to Mecca and we're going to quote for our flags. We came up to Mecca, we quoted for our flags, we went back to Dallas and we started the University of Allah. The first University of Allah in Sudan. Ain't never been no other school named University. Because we say we was universal because we learned it from here and took it back there. It was God's there, but they wasn't, you know, they come and they go, Nobody stood and did the work. And that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to do the work. So we came back and we started the first University of Law School in Sudan. And we've been building ever since. We have not stopped yet. So I got knowledge of myself from the Word of God, the real Word of God. It was in born knowledge. I love it. We love every one of y'all. There's more to it, you know, but I love this nation, and I'm thankful. I often call myself a nation baby because I'm Power Cypher too. I just turned Power Cypher in 26. So I'm 50 years old as well, so this is a double blessing for me. You know, so I appreciate all my older brothers, my big brothers, now Allah, even my brother Positive Ramel right here, the God right here. All of y'all have been an influence on my life. All of y'all. So I appreciate every last one of you. Peace.
Now, Law.
What y'all calling me out for, man? Y'all tell y'all history, God. Y'all everybody know mine. Ain't gonna change.
I thought this was for the young. The young spoke already.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm coming to hear y'all history.
Yeah, the young spoke already. Now we go to the season. Well, I have a little history to speak about. It's not going to be much. Certain things are not going to be telecast. You got to speak louder. Certain things are not going to be telecast, so I'm not going to make this a little lengthy thing. I got the service in 1972. In 1976, I got knowledge of myself. In 1986, I started opening up the school, and I've been here ever since. But there's one thing, you know, I have to let everybody know. There's knowledge here, anybody. I don't care what kind of condition that you're in. This knowledge makes you stand up and be proud. You can be a drug addict, crackhead, whatever. I say crackhead and knowledge, they proudly stand up and hold down. And they can be stealing at the same time. But what they do, they pass this knowledge on to other individuals. The brother I got knowledge from,
After he gave me knowledge, a couple of years after that, I went back to Texas. I said to myself, from then on, I said, I understand what my brothers and sisters go through. They go through a lot of hell to make this manifest. I can't speak as a father. I get through emotion because I see the condition that we're in. I see brothers and sisters go through. I love a lot of brothers when they went back to Essence, not because of old age, because they kept the devil, they've been dabbing the devil. Now, brother said that we gotta go through love, hell to get the right. We don't have to go through hell to get the right. We go through hell because most of us is hard-headed. So we got to be beaten back into shape. That's why we have to go through that hell. This is a penalty that we get. It says, if you don't perform your duty, what must be done? You can be beat with many stripes. That's why y'all get to hell. That's why we went to jail. That's why brothers got in a fight. That's why we cut up each other. That's why we did all these things. But look at us now. They say the truth crushing earth shall rise again. They say the cream rise to the top. But look at us now. We say we're doing a lot of negative things, but look at us rise and we still here. We did a growing. I see all these groups and a lot of guards here. I've never seen y'all before. I started seeing y'all recently. I used to open up this school from 1986 to 2006 after I got sick. After I recovered from surgery, I came back to school every now and then. Coming back down here, growing, building, schools getting itself together, holding out. I see brothers still here. Then it was 4, brothers coming back. 5, brothers went back to bed. I got knowledge. 9 years old, Stephen Cook. All of a sudden, got 24, and it's 97 years. Families and children, bills, still passed on somebody, do something. All of us are youth. We just don't understand that all of us are youth. And my brothers and sisters, that have seen ministry, I might don't like the shit that y'all stupid things that y'all do, but I got to love you because everybody else is against us. Even though they knew that the black man was dog, everything had to be against us because we are open speakers. This is not supposed to be spoken like this here until the right time. This is the right time. I know people don't like it, but we here now. We cannot change it, we cannot go back. It's like Matrix. Once you know, you cannot go back. You pick the red pill, now you got to deal with it.
Praise God.
Praise God. My name is Garland Larshaw. It wasn't always Garland Larshaw, it was Shaheem at one time, and that was in 1971. I had 3 brothers. One of my brothers who didn't stay with us, not physically, but I mean, in terms of knowledge, his name was Divine Prince. I was like 11, so we were still playing the dirt, playing marbles and stuff. I got mine in the desert. Anybody know what the desert is? Queens. Okay, Queens. I know somebody who didn't. Y'all get right. So, what happened was, during that time, you still had the black, the turbulent time, you had the black power struggles, you had a lot of gangs too. The 7 Crowns and the Black Spades and the Jolly Stompers and all these people. And this is what was prevalent. Even then, we were a handful. Because we only talking 1964, 1971. Some of these brothers you see now were whippersnappers then, and these were the ones that gave it to us. I didn't know the father. I don't have an intimate, but I knew the father through my brothers, right? I knew Allah through them, right? And I always say that when I had that spiel and at the rally. So, what was dynamic about this now, and what always is, but more so then, was the people that got the knowledge first, right? Because I was the last of my little team to get the knowledge. The minute they was informed, like, once we give you the name, don't even respond to the honorable name no more. So I'm calling, hey, yo, John, they squash, yeah, this one, that one, and they was like, that's not my name. I mean, like the whole dynamic and aura was like changing. Like, yo, my name is Master. And these are dudes like 12 or 13 years old. I'm like, what? You know, I said, man, your mama named you John, man. You know what I mean? So, finally, I got some lessons from my brother. But then I was told, see, because with this knowledge, especially then, that's not how you get it. You got to fast. You want this? You're not, it ain't gonna be a quick instant oatmeal. I came into a cipher in the class in the park, and I met Divine Prince and Justice Hakim and them. They were babies themselves. And actually, the story goes, I was chasing my Earth Now then, and she had got knowledge. And, you know, it's family. So it was like, man, anybody that came within the gravity of family, who was he? You know what I mean? Even though you might see me in the neighborhood, or why are you here in this cipher? You know? Oh no, you know, you're nervous because it wasn't playing either. It's serious then and it's serious now. And even with the babies, we was taught how to be men. Like I'll ask them joke, but I'm gonna teach you because time was critical, and it still is, but even more so now. As you can see, doing history, how they was water hosing people and sticking dogs on them. You know what I mean? Things was real crazy. Most of my family and my other brother, they got knowledge of Medina from Raheem and them. I didn't have a clue until I came to the park and I started hearing some of my own. And so I seen how intensive they were. Because we was playing hooky, you know, back in the day, that truant officers. But once we got this knowledge, we was informed to go back to school. Like that stopped. You know, in fact, as time went on, actually the premise of our whole cipher is education. So, you know, once we was awakened, even though we was told not to teach the teachers, we went to churches, mosques, places that we wouldn't dare go to and just start bombing. Because once I found out that, Christopher Columbus discovered America, and like George Washington had wooden teeth, and he didn't chop down a cherry tree, and you know, I'm just the stuff he's being taught, and actually in school, books that showing us how ugly we look and how great they look, and God in the ghetto is teaching us something differently, and once we find information that complements that, we ran with that, man. You know, I stayed in school. However, you know, as time went on, again, like I said, Justice Hakim was what influenced me. My family is out of Harlem. So I used to go to Harlem on 16th Street, 3rd, and visit my mother there, because I was with my grandmother in the desert. And that's how I bumped into ABG. Quiet, 7th of the 9th. He's on 145th Street. Real quiet then. But, you know, because then it was kind of all seeing kids like just running the street the way he was doing. He would just snatch us up, like, come here, what you doing? You know, and it was just God's presence again. You know, and it was from that connection that I started being really getting in tune with my lesson. And I traveled. You know, then, you know, I definitely went to Medina. You know, and got a rude awakening there with the guards out there. Went to White Court Projects and visited some family members and my brother and them. And I understood why they mean. They was mean, like, you know, I said, man, that's some real angry dudes out here, man. Hey! I'm like, come on, man. Please, you know, like, I put my hand out, and I understood that. You know, because we take nothing on face value. You know what I mean? You know, we going through wars here. Our guards then had to win them on. Shasha has shown me how then one man can single-handedly defeat an army in a matter of seconds, just with a matter of words. Because all you gotta do is tell me, when I say peace, all you have to do is say, what do you mean? And I got you. That's all you gotta do. Because if you're inquisitive, even in that sense, I got you. Some people we had to war, we didn't have to fight, unfortunately, but they came over because again, man, you know, this was what was prevalent. But I understood that because that was the type of temple out there in Medina. But you know, these brothers, I had in my family, like the guard just mentioned, I had the honor and pleasure of building with. You know, I went through my cycles too, in here. But one thing I didn't do, and one thing I'm not going to do, I've been God for so long, I don't know what it is to be anything else. When they came in the mud and got me, I was Kenny, and then I was Shiny, then I'm God Allah Shah. So I don't know what it is to be anything else. Meaning this, that regardless of what I went through, the black man is God unequivocally, as told to me by Allah through his sons and his daughters, because his daughters taught too, don't forget there was nature gods and earth. I remember going to Bon Shay's sister house back in the day at Far Rockaway, and I was like kind of amazed with his sister, Myasia, teaching the children on the blackboard. That was my real first sign of like really seeing that instruction given in that manner. But you know, from that time to now, God, you know, put him on the phone. I constantly, you'll hear, I'm gonna sum it up with this here. I constantly, in my bill, you'll hear me always talk about the root. I always go there, you know, because that's important, God. The root of what we teach. This is important, you know, because what happens is not the nation, but when I always say the instant, you get it on internet, you get it on Facebook. I mean, we have to fast, God, and it's still that way. Right? Because again, it's body and mind. You know, you're trying to get impurities out of you. Before, I remember Ahmed was telling me, man, at one time we was 7, the father said, nah, let's do the 3, man. You know, or it was then manifested that 3 days would be sufficient for you to fast, and then you come into it. But you anywhere, prison, anywhere you went, that's how that went. You want now, you're gonna have to fast, man. You know? Now it's just like, let me get these lessons, my name is so-and-so, and that's it. That's not how this goes, man. You know, and lastly, I remember, again, ABG telling me, you know, about the 5th degree in actual fact. Never forget this one. Asked me, why was 5, which is power, the 5th degree in the actual fact, which is hills and mountains, which cover 1,910,000 square miles. So I've already gone through some numerical calculations showing over 12 goes to this and divide that. Whatsoever, man. Making mathematics live. You know what I mean? Meaning that you got to go through a lot of hills and mountains to acquire true truth and power. You got to go through that. You know, now, again, like the God said, these are choices to be made. But even in those choices, listen to this one. I'm not proud of some of the negative choices I made, but I didn't forsake what my Father gave me. See, because some people, man, they left because of the pressure. See, that's why when we read our lessons, man, please understand that when it says, if a civil life put up before me, what must be done, and what is prescribed laws, what type of pain and hell you inflicting upon yourself. So in this day and time, it's always knowing about preparing, being the servant who prepares himself in the signs of the law will manifest. That's what's important. This is important. You see that now because of love. We've been through some hell here. You go through some hell. You see it. This is not why we're here. But this cipher bears testament that we do what we need to do. See? That's why we don't have the dialectical definition. When people see what a good thing is, you ain't gotta tell me what a bad thing is, because I already know what that is. I see the beauty of this. So anything opposite is ugly. You know what I mean? So this is why we continue to keep doing what we do here. And I was taught that and a lot of these brothers that went back, let me say this too, because I don't claim jump. By claim jump, I mean that I'm sitting here trying to press you by how I got knowledge in the day and time I didn't. It didn't matter. If the God got knowledge in the 90s, right, God? It was important to you then. Okay? Just important to you it was in 1964 or 65, different historical period, yes. This is why we want to bridge the gap, not to be vain, but to show you the root of what Almighty God taught. See? Because I remember God Supreme and Princeton, he had afros. See, they were young, so they were young, and I'm in my 50s. You can imagine how young they were, and they were babies giving it. And I seen God through. He got to be the God. He talking like that. Trains and buses, police and preachers. Things stopped when the 5% walked. I remember that. I was like, yeah, man, y'all want that. In fact, actually, I like the way they dress and talk. Actually, like, because they definitely will be fine. You know, and he taught me that too. And with that, I'm still here, and I'm here as a result of that, you know, and I ain't going nowhere. But most importantly, man, right, know your history, because it's important to you, like people, like roots are to a tree. That peace.
All right, peace. I'm gonna give my history out, and I think we can take a break. We've been here a long time to stretch out, and we can reconvene, and there's some of the younger people that should be out there. Come back inside.
I let them know what's going on. Peace.
We called this cipher together to give a chance for younger people to tell their story, how they got knowledge, if they had any questions, and if you do have any questions, this is the best time to get them answered. Then we'll get the older brothers to be able to speak to y'all as well, those that do want to speak. I got knowledge of myself October the 7th, 1968. I was in Oldville State Training, well, I was in Spofford Youth House in the Bronx. I was running through being a crazy adolescent like everybody else, got caught up with I got knowledge of self from hearing some brothers. One of them, when the brothers had the L's to their name, El Yatu and El Jabba. These two brothers was like a law and justice. We in the youth house, and they talking, sound like they rapping, it sound real fly to me. I was like, wow. And I was kind of known in my block, in my area, doing the things that I was doing. But when I had a chance to listen to them, I wasn't doing nothing at all. So I got my I got my student enrollment at that fast for 3 days. I went on a 3-day fast. I got my student enrollment first while I was studying, for the 3 days. So when I finished my fast, I knew my student enrollment. Then I got my math, then I got my alphabet. Shortly thereafter, I got transferred to Oldville State Training School for boys. And this was 1968, 1969, I was in Oldville. I was up there with Black Sea Shamgar, Grandmaster of Law Freedom. He was up there at that time. And Shamgar was getting ready to go home. And he brought his book of life to the school. The principal name is Mr. Gandy. He told him that all the father said, don't bring your lessons to the school. If you bring your lessons to the school, we're going to confiscate it. Shamgar brought his lesson to the school. Gandy confiscated him, put him in his desk drawer. I had the opportunity to work as a janitor or porter inside the school. So when everybody was gone, the school was out. It was my responsibility to clean up the school, sweep, mop through the toilets and all that. One day, I was in the principal's office, and it just dawned on me I should look for this book. So nervously, I opened the drawer, and I knew what the book color was, because Shamgar told me before he left. It was a blue folder about the color of 9G Jackson, with a little window that said in the name of Shamgar Allah. I got the book, stuck it in my pants, nervous. I continued to work for the rest of the night, busting out sweat. Went back to my unit. Now, those days, you had to know your math. You come out, somebody always going to ask you on the road going to what is called the mess hall. There's paths, cottages here, cottage here, this is the main road. You got New Mexico, you got California. I was in Alaska cottage. And every time you come out, somebody would say, peace God, I used to Days Mathematics. And if you didn't know it, you was going to get bombed straight up. There wasn't no, I'm going to teach you this. You had to get it, and you had to get it raw. So when I got that book, and I was home, well not home, when I was in the dorm, that night, there's a little fire window, about this wide, that long, with a light coming in. When the lights went out, they cut the lights out in the dorm, I was on the floor studying. So I studied, they say for an example, the days of 12. I studied every 12th degree in the lessons, preparing myself for the next day. Excuse me. So when I came out the next day with this book, I didn't bring the book with me. When I came out, as soon as the brother asked me what Days Mathematics, my man, now you tell me what the Days Mathematics is. They couldn't say nothing because you reversed it. We reversed it. So from that time, I was there when the father got returned. We had a big, how can I say, gathering on the baseball field. Anybody you know that was in Oldville in 1969 will tell you the same thing. We walked from our cottages down to mess hall, singing the Enlightenment. When we got to the baseball field, that's where we was at the baseball field. And there were some brothers there that had names, Allah Dahu, Allah Rahim, a guard named Fu Quan. These are the three brothers I know that basically facilitated the cipher. From there, we went back to our cottages, and that was in 1969. I came home in 70 for a minute, got in trouble again back in 71, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. My history don't run deep with the school until 1986. But I met Just when I was in the Fed. Lord Just was the one that basically prepared me to meet firstborn Prince-in-law. I didn't know Prince. So being in the Feds with Lord Just, and I had to get transferred to go to Terry Hut, Indiana. And Lord Just made sure that I was sharp in my lessons before I went. So we sat in the baseball field in the score box where they keep score. I met Najee the same way when I was in Lewisburg. He came on a visit when we had some things going on up there, some of the negative things that I didn't ever have a chance to partake in. I'm glad about that. But that's when I first met Najee, because he came in as an outreach person to add on from the school. So Lord Just, took me through the lessons and everything, made sure I was right. But what happened, I've learned a unique way dealing with him, and it used to piss me off, is that when you halfway through the degree, he would stop, then pick up again. No, he said, pick up where you stopped off at, and that was hard for me. You know what I'm saying? So I had to learn how, if you stop me from building, not to go back to the beginning of the build, but to pick up where I left off at. And I learned that key, and it was very instrumental for me when I went to Terry Hut, Indiana. I went to Terry Hut, Indiana, and when I got there, it wasn't that many guards there. The guards that was there, they told me to go in the library to have their civilization classes. Them hunkies, them devils down there said, you can take your Islam to yourself. Don't bring it here. Then I ended up meeting some New World Muslims. They say peace, peace all the time. And I said, what was peace, peace? The peace in this world, peace in this world. They was all bank robbers, all of them. But they was straight up soldiers for, the mosques. But that's what they was doing. And I don't know if any of y'all ever read this book called Uncle Yahya. That's a book. Y'all read that book. That book was based on these brothers, the New World Muslim, peace, peace. That was their name. 1986, September the 8th, 1986, I came home out of the federal institution after doing 5.5 years. And just when I started meeting various people, I met Umala, I met firstborn Prince, where me and Prince really got into it at first, because once I heard who he was, I'm thinking my lesson was sharp, I was all loud, nobody could tell me nothing. And we went through some lessons. And almost every lesson that I quoted with him, nah, God, that's wrong. Nah, God, that's wrong. Nah, God, that's wrong. And I'm arguing with him, especially when, man, what's the duty of a civilized man? This is my degree. My degree says civilized man, my man, not civilized person. And we would go back and forth on various degrees until I said, you know what? I stopped. I said, give me a set of lessons there. So I never got him at the point when I was building with him until he went to jail. And when he went to jail, I got what I needed to get from him. And he basically became my mentor, helped me clear a lot of misconceptions about this nation, especially stories about the father. Because you always hear about the father said, we should do this and we shouldn't do that. I mean, you put yourself in the father's state of mind of being a father. You know what you want for your children. But now you got supreme knowledge. You got supreme mathematics, supreme alphabet. You instill that into your child, and you make sure that you prepare them mentally to do the right thing. You do the same thing that the father did. He got his first 9 born, he started teaching them, and the first 9 born went and started teaching everybody else. So we got 50 years now that we done survived from 1964, October the 10th, to 2014, October the 10th. We did 50 years. You got people calculating saying it's 51 years. You got people calculating saying it's 49 years. I'm going by what was given to me, what I know has been recorded in our nation's history. October the 10th, 1964, the birth of this nation. And it's a phrase that I use. Last year, Region 5 had the pleasure of bringing me down to their conference. The first regional conference, correct? The first regional conference down there, Queen Shamika was there, Sia Law was there, and other people, I wasn't the only one, but I was so honored. The love that they bestowed upon me was bananas. And I had a wonderful time. I mean, I couldn't spend no money. I couldn't spend a dime. So I enjoyed myself, I had a great bill, but one of the phrases that I used, they said that the root was coming to the fruit. Okay? They brought us down there because they were the fruit from the root. So we came down there to make knowledge born with them, see where we can help and add on with them in their little cipher. But then their ciphers got vast because when they took me out to dinner, the council, they got a group of gods and earths down there, but these brothers are called the council. They basically set the tone in that area. Our history go back to 1994, and we reconnected in 1995, and the lesson that I gave them, because he didn't say I gave them lessons, I gave them lessons that Prince gave me. When I got them back at the Million Man March, they had them on scroll paper. They had them on scroll, and I have a picture. I don't know, some of y'all on Facebook, you see the pictures, you can see me holding the book up. I think you was in that picture too. I think you in that picture, Najee. I was holding the book up. I was so happy to have, you know, the lessons given back to me. Come to find out, the whole setup that they had down there was based on the knowledge and wisdom that, you know, I shared with these brothers that came up here, you know. So we coined the phrase from Region 5, from the root to the fruit, thanks to the earth right there, brilliant idea. But now we coined it and said we wanted to bring the fruit to the root, to let them get a chance to say their side on how they got here. I just want to say I'm glad people showed up.
Before you go into the present day time, I wanted you to go over how you became like the security and all that.
Okay, when I came home in 86, when I came home in 1986, well, before that, when I was in the feds, and Lord Just used to tell me the history, and I used to tell him that I can't see coming out here and not doing nothing for my nation. So I knew I wanted to do something. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I came from the drug world. I was pretty big in the drug world. That's what I went to jail for, slinging drugs in Washington, D.C. I'm from 117th Street and Lenox Avenue originally, right around the corner from Mars number 7. But we used to run around here and bomb them FOI. Come on, y'all didn't know your lessons. Yusef Shaw used to chase me from around the Mars all the time. I came home in 86, September, and I got in front of the Parliament and I said, I want to build with the one or the body of the one that is making decisions for this nation. At that time I wasn't using Lord Born Justice, I was just using Born Justice. I had built with Lord Just and a few other people, and I said, well, Wise Jamel was on the door when I came home. And I knew Wise Jamel from way back in the day, him and his crew, Alibaba and the 40 Thieves. And yeah, so he was ready to pat me down. I said, God, I got this, man, sit down. So me and my man, Born Love, my brown seed, we stood up on the door and we started searching people. Nobody knew me. About 4 people knew me in the nation at that time from the street. That's Arlene, Living Truth, Ahmed, Hakeem, and Kasim. Those 5. Those are the ones that know me from 117th Street. Anybody else knew me from being in prison, but not being in the street. So I was met with a lot of resistance. Great resistance, literally. You know, it was real serious. So somebody told me that Shah wanted to talk to me. One of the first born, Shah from the head of Medina, wanted to talk to me. So I was in the cafeteria, right where Najee set up his oils at all the time. I came out the gym. Najee's table right here. Shah was standing on the other side of the table. Shah, 2 other guards behind him, and 3 other guards behind the 2, looking like a pyramid. And he was standing up like this, and said, peace. I said, peace. He said, I'm firstborn Shah from the head of Medina. I said, peace, I'm Born Justice. He said, I understand you want our permission to be the head of our security. I looked at him, he looked at me. I said, no, I don't want your permission. I just want to let y'all know what I want to do for my nation. He gave me that old, like, who you think you are type look. And I'm like, that's you, punk, you know? They ain't looked at me and I ain't flinched, you know what I'm saying? He said, peace, God, peace. And that's how we started. What I used to have to do, I used to go to Medina a lot. and I was always getting examined and grilled by a whole lot of the firstborn and the elders. I think it's Marcy Projects. Or the Paul, isn't the Paul Robeson something out there?
Albany Projects.
Okay, there was a project out there that we had to go out there. They had a meeting. Rasheen, that does the videos, Black Sea Rasheen, he used to be on security. He used to be on security. Najee was instrumental in helping me really realize what time it is. The tape I got from the father, I got it from Najee. You know, that tape wasn't flying around like it is now. You know, certain things that y'all don't have no questions then, I guess we take a break.
I'll ask you a question.
Go ahead, bro.
The understanding about the date being 10/10, where did that come from? How does it's specifically on 10/10?
Okay, what I got from Firstborn Prince, they told me, he says between the 7th and the 10th. You know, because certain firstborns met the father at different times. They ain't all meet at one time. If I'm correct, it was Black Messiah, Absalom, and Prince. Right. And then they... So that's how they got it. Each group of gods got it at particular times, but for some reason, the renowned effect of it is October the 10th is what it is. I haven't heard no other date since.
From my understanding through God Supreme, he said he was taught by Firstborn Prince and he had knowledge himself way before October 1960.
They agreed on it. Right. Now what happened also is this. The father was teaching in the mosque before 64, you know what I'm saying? But that's how he got out the mosque, because he was wise in studying the lessons and realized who he was. And they basically told him, you can't teach that here. A lot of people don't teach that. So in his meetings with various brothers like God and them and Amir, these brothers already had some knowledge about certain things because they was going to the mosque and listening to Malcolm X speak. So whether they was ignorant of it, but as it got revealed, like I said, wasn't nobody just sitting there, things dated, 10, 11, 2014, you know, and Born Justice said so and so, I was there, and they scribing it out. They don't do that. That's the beauty of having the phones that you can take videos, and take pictures, and you can record things, and you got an archive you can go check. I have so many, I got so many VHS tapes in the house that I want to get them burned to CDs just to give away. But I don't want to give my original to anybody because I may not get it back.
Let me say something, God. I don't mean to cut your way. Shabazz Dawn gave me a CD with Firstborn Prince, and what it is, he got it on a VHS tape, and he take it and record it onto a CD from a CD burner or whatever from the recorder. So that way he keep the original.
And you can burn it.
Exactly.
That's my plan, to get get some money first, find out how much they cost, then I can just go ahead and take it. Because the ones I have, I mean, when I came home, I got cassettes. I used to always sit right on the stage. Put it right on the stage. Like Dumar be speaking, all those great speakers, the Khalim, all of them was up there speaking and all that. I got it all on cassette. You see what I'm saying? Because that's recorded history. Now the thing about it, some of the things that they don't even speak about today. They don't speak about the importance of fasting. They don't speak about the importance of having a black woman or having an earth. They don't speak about how you should take care of your babies. You know what I'm saying? They always tell me, oh, nobody don't brought no babies up here, and so, I'm doing this and I'm doing that. But it's what we doing. I remember a time when I came home, the two gods that was instrumental in guiding me in the right direction was Lord Dumar and Master Najee. Because Master Najee and Lord Dumar used to be the gatekeepers down here before I came home. And when I came home, I mean, they lived down here. They was here all the time. I wasn't really with all this. I didn't know how to be God in society, in the street. I was God in jail. You know what I'm saying? I was going through lessons. I was taking heads. I wasn't with that teaching nothing. You ain't got it, then you ain't gonna get it from me. You know, that's where I was until I grew into my understanding. And when I came home, I couldn't understand certain things that was going on. And Najee used to always say, you can't go nowhere. You know, you gotta go through the fire. You gotta go through hell. You gotta go through it. I got you on fire, but I'm in the good fire. I try to pull back a lot of time You know what I'm saying? But now, you said you can't go nowhere. So me and Lord Dumont end up living in the same place. We got real tight. And I learned about the mothers of civilization. This is for my sister. I learned about the mothers of civilization. It was a group of sisters that when they used to get together and they used to help each other out with food, hair, clothes, children, nurturing, teaching. It was a cipher. They were so tight. These sisters used to always bring food to the parliament to feed their babies first. Then they would feed the rest of the children. But we used to always have a plate. If I got an herb, she part of the MOC, they make sure I sat down and make sure I ate, had something to drink. At that time, I ain't had no children. I had Jamel, Prince Jamel. He came, and we used to always make sure we eat. But they had such a sisterhood that if you just got knowledge yourself, the sisters would come to your house, go through your cabinet, throw away everything that was not good, replace it. Because they had money to make them dues and stuff like that. They would replace it. They would inform the guard, I'm going to loan her a sewing machine. We're going to teach her how to sew, but you're going to have to buy her a machine. That was mandatory. We're going to loan her one for now to get her on her way. Every Saturday night before the parliament, one thing for sure, the sisters going to be on the phone talking to each other, or they're going to be at somebody's house getting ready for the parliament. Or they're going to go shopping they'll get together, go food shopping like on Friday, evening or whatever, early Saturday. But they're going to do it collectively. And these same group of sisters always advocated that the guards make sure they eat, make sure you dress properly. They're going to be disrespecting these sisters. They're going to be on their game. That's sisterhood. If you didn't have something, your sister would give it to you. They would help you out. They would go and make sure you had the right pots, the right pan. They would help you with your apartment, whatever help you need. If you ran into dire straits between these sisters, they'll let you come over to their house, try to help you get a job. I mean, they watch your back. That's sister. Well, I came home in '86. I think, Najee, what? Before I came home?
No, well, my papa came home.
Okay.
Mecca,
right.
Shavasia.
Right.
I got together and formed
Okay. And Shavasia was a beautiful earth. I mean, to meet her is to know you met a righteous person. That's the aura she had around her. Like when brothers say they get in contact and they see a God, he's true and living, and you can see it, that's the one, you see it. The woman know what her God is. It's like, as soon as I heard that brother say something, I knew that was my God. You know what I'm saying? That's how Shavasia was. But she gave that same love to everybody. Same thing with Qualisha. They passed now, but these was the sisters that basically taught me, you know what I'm saying, what it is to look for an earth. You know, to find the qualities of earth. You know how many years, months, and days it took me to find those particular qualities? Till this day and time right now. Long time. That's why everybody see me laughing and smiling because of this earth right here. Because she reminds me of Shavasia. But see, a whole lot of earth went through a whole lot of hell. The gods ain't the only one that went through hell. But when you get to the earths that have gone through hell, and they at a point right now, listen, it's going to be this or that. That's right. You know what I'm saying? And once you find that mate, you ain't going to let heaven or earth come between y'all, no matter whom or what. My whole thing is always, I tell you this, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart. If you got a black woman, teach a black woman. I mean, teach her 120. Have her read message to the black man, read it with her, go through the Quran with her, let her build with the right sister, and watch how she elevates. You let an earth be an earth, you fine. I tell my earth all the time, earth, let me be God, please. Let me do what I gotta do. Because I work. Every time I come to a function, I'm working. Went to the parlor, where I'm at, boom, working. We came in as a guest with Big Daddy Kane. I wasn't supposed to be working, but I got right in work mode. Because that's what we do to make sure that I'm security minded. I can't change that, you know? And we developed the growth conference and we did all these things and we started getting titles, you know? I mean, one time I stood in front of Parliament and told him I was the Minister of Defense. The boy said, what? The father said we get rid of ministers, we don't use that, what's wrong with you? I just want to get everybody attention. And I did. You should have heard the auditorium when I said that. I had everybody attention, and then I'm explaining to them, this is what we got to do. As a nation, a lot of people cannot even, really tell you what's our mission. I mean, what is your purpose? You say we God, you say we earth, fine. But what is the mission? What are we supposed to do? Besides teach all human families of the planet Earth. That's a given. Oh, the babies are the greatest. Okay, cool. We're supposed to make a difference in our community, man. Straight up. You get the knowledge that you have, you go back to your community and you make a difference. Plain and simple. But you just got to figure out your knack. What are you good at? You know, the God cuts hair. He's a master barber. That could be his attracting power. His earth, spoken word. That could be her attracting power. Some people use baseball, basketball. I use gang intervention. Because my history I'm learning in the streets, I use the anti-gang initiative project that comes from New York City. When I had my mentoring program, I sat down and set it up. You know, and I got people, I had gang leaders sit at a round table. And there was no heads here. It was round. So because you a Latin king or blood or a Crip or whatever, Nayeta, whatever you are, on this playing field, we on an equal playing field. And one of the things that made them gravitate to sit down is because of the Brand Nubian video that they did here at the school. I used to always show that to them, you know. You gotta find a way to reach the children in your community. And everybody not gonna be on the same page. You have no idea how many times I got stabbed in the back. I go home and I got all blood marks on my back. Now I learn how to drop and roll. I wanna leave. Nah, G said, oh, you can't go, you can't go. Yeah.
Peace. I just wanted to, we were building on the queens and the herbs, and peace to the cipher, knowledge, wisdom, they are being born to understanding. I want to build on the math before I ask my question. Knowledge is to know, and we know that wisdom is to do. And so when you know better, then you is and you do better, which is wisdom, which brings about a clear picture. So what I strive with this question is to bring about a clear picture for all, because what I hear systematically is that there are issues with people's reference point on when women came into the nation or were part of the nation or the cipher and our relevance. And I think a lot of times we say we want to build up the woman, and a lot of that comes from elevating her and giving her that acknowledgement that you ain't just been in the back of the picture the whole time. And when we are able to acknowledge that it has been he and her since the beginning, then we can move forward to make sisters see that this is just as much your nation as it is the black man's nation, you know. And I find that that's something that systematically occurs. So can you clarify whether there were women, earths, and I know they might not have been called earths, moons, whatever the case may be, building in the nation from day one?
Yes. Yes, they were. Because of the Queen Omala can attest to that, but she had to clear some stuff up about that one time. Because
She built on our conference call.
Right. She got taught by firstborn Prince Allah. Okay? The same way that Shahi came in and he had Sister Carmine. So in that beginning of that stage, almost all those brothers had a woman, but a lot of them wasn't really building. The ones that stood by their man, like Sister Carmine and Shahi, Omala and firstborn Prince, and all the other sisters, Makiba, Kamina, all of them. Yeah, all of them. And it's a list. I got a list that Omala gave me with like 15 of the firstborn sisters.
Indeed, she shared that with me. I just want to know we got recorders going, so for the record, I'd like it to be put on record.
They've been here from the
We've been
beginning.
present.
They've been here from the beginning. And like I said, sisterhood is a great thing, but brotherhood is a greater thing only because we take the forefront to provide and make sure that y'all good. You know what I'm saying? It's a matter of respect. You know, there's a time that if the God ain't home, you can't come to God's house and he ain't there. Right. You know, you can't do that. You knock on the door, peace, what's up? Is the God home? No, the God ain't here right now. All right, tell him I'll be back. It ain't no why I'll sit down and wait, I get a cup of water. You know, just stay right there, hold on. Here you go, I'll talk to you later. You know, because it's a matter of respect. It's a matter of respect. But the whole key thing is like, you got a woman, you got young people around you, teach them. Don't be afraid to teach a woman, because by you teaching your woman, she's only a reflection of you. Because a lot of times when the men are not around, the woman will have to represent you, you know? And they gotta represent right. If you don't teach them right, they open their mouth up, boy, you're gonna be embarrassed.
Say it again.
You know, you're gonna be embarrassed. So you gotta teach them right for that. And you gotta teach them the right way, because we all supposed to be teaching the same way. You know, everybody got tactics and ways that they teach, but they all supposed to learn the same thing. Learn 120 lessons, sisters. Don't not be afraid to learn 120 lessons. Don't let no man tell you you ain't supposed to know 120. None.
right, sister, to your question, in the beginning, there was no herbs in our nation. In the beginning, the sisters were called moons, because they reflected the light of the sun. We is the sons of Almighty God Allah, our moon is the moon. Then our children, they the stars, that's the universe, that's what Allah is God of. But before you can have the earth and plant your seed, you have to give her what? Light. Or she ain't gonna have nothing to give to that seed. So, it was a time before we had earth. But when I got knowledge of self, we ain't had no earth. They ain't know nothing about that for a while. Then Almighty God Allah told us, told the gods, to get married. But he's talking about getting married in the mind, not going to a third party, to get married, to unite. That's the origin of this. I just want to.
Indeed, I understood that. I just have heard, various guys that'll imply that there were no women, period, be it moon or earth title. But there was no earth by title, but there were young girls and sisters, because these guys had sisters, and they had women that they were talking to, young women. So if they're living an example and they're true and living in their example of that, you can't help but to give that off to the woman, and she can't help but pick it up and want to walk in it if you in the same house.
And the sisters was teaching from the beginning.
Indeed.
Some sisters knew more than some brothers. And that's what it got to be. It got to be, right inside. Don't get it twisted.
Right.
Sisters would teach, and if a brother ain't know something, he might have got it from a sister.
Right.
That's how they say it. It's a lot of things that people are saying about the knowledge that must be straight. Just like a tree growing. If it starts growing crooked, you can't let it keep going that way.
You gotta put a split on it.
Right. You gotta straighten it out so it be right and exact. And this is the process that we in. Just like, the fruit is growing on the tree, the root is growing also. It's knitting closer together. And this is the process that we in right now, and this is what we gotta keep going. Like talking about the birthday of the nation, this was a day that was agreed on so we could all have that same mathematics. Like the lesson tell you, there's no beginning or ending. This always been taught. But there was a point in time that we agreed to, and it's 10-10-64 because of what that manifests. 10-10 and 6 and 4 is 10. When you draw it all up to understand the cycle, that's the uniting of the seeds. Yaqub made double by separating and grafting. Almighty God Allah came to unite the seeds, to put it back together. And thus, this is, how we get our birthday. Because there are brothers that were getting knowledge before that. Our God and them got locked up in April 64. And they was with the Father before they got locked up. So the teaching's been going on. But at that point in time, they said Messiah on the 7th, Ibika and them was with the Father before that. Messiah got it. Absalom and Prince said when two or more come together in his name, Allah is with them. You understand what I'm saying? So when we started coming together like that, that's when we became a nation. Before we even realized that we was a nation. That's how it happened. Almighty God, I ain't seen him until he came home from Matterhorn. And he called the parliament. That was the first time I ever seen him with my physical eye. I had the knowledge, to the gods, to his sons, the brothers. Right? When he came home and called the parliament, I came to the parliament. I ain't know nothing about where the parliament was. All I know was it was in Mecca. You go to 125th Street, you know what I'm saying? When I got off the train, it was, first of all, there was a brother that I knew, from, back, because he had taught a bunch of brothers in my neighborhood. I ain't get it from him, but I knew his family. He came through the train before we got to 125th Street. Right, and I said, you going to the parliament, Akbar? He said, my name's not Akbar. The father changed my name to Allah. So we proceeded to get off the train. Right, when we came upstairs, 125th and Lenox, there was a brother standing right there at the top of, right there by the train station on the corner. And he pointed down Lenox Avenue to 124th Street and said, the parliament is that way. Then there was another brother on 124th Street, right there across from Rice High School. I don't even know if it's still there.
It's still there.
Okay, and he pointed down towards Fifth Avenue and said, Parliament is that way, right? We walked down to Fifth Avenue. When we get there by the park, there was a brother standing right there, and he pointed like that, said, the Parliament is that way, pointing into the park and up, you know? And so, if I didn't know, if Allah had never got on the train, I would have still made it. All I had to do was make an attempt. A brother that used to be with me every day, my black seed, he ain't go. I ain't know where I was going. All I know was the father called the Parliament, and he said he wanted, you know, all the 5 sons to come. And, you know, that's what I did. I made an attempt. I said, if I ain't make it, I'm going to do my best. But that's how it was. We got to the Parliament, you know, Parliament was going on, brother was speaking. Almighty God Allah came and got into the cipher. You know, when he said peace, it's like the whole world stopped. When he said, right? And then everybody said, peace, 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 Allah. And then he started building, you know, on the subject. But I just wanted to, you know, go on that there. God said we'll have intermission. You know, if time permit, then I'll build with y'all later.
Peace. Stretch your legs if y'all want to come out. Been here a long time.
Peace, peace, peace. This is the God Rashid Allah, and here at the great headquarters, national headquarters of the Nation of Gods and Earths, and we're here manifesting, man, living mathematics in the form of history, unity, loving each other, you know what I'm saying, and building a righteous social equality. You know what I'm saying? So when Gods and Earths leave to go to all 4 corners of the planet Earth, they're going to empower themselves and their communities. This is what's going on. Peace.
Peace, great God. Peace.
Peace.
Peace to the gods, peace to the earths, peace to the other people of the universe. Brand new, you can't be working like this. You see, each and every day, each and every way, we're gonna show and prove, teach you the righteous way.
Inside you. Peace to Allah.